Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, Lauren Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. As everyone knows, I've been playing a lot of Persona 5 lately, or I have been on the weekends when I actually have a second of free time. I have been generally enjoying Persona 5. I don't really have any real problems with it, other than the fact it's extremely cringy, extremely anime, and extremely juvenile in its presentation when it comes to the treatment of adults, man. Like, it's really shallow in certain respects when it comes to like its wish fulfillment aspects. But that's kind of why I like it. That's kind of why I really value it. In a lot of ways, I really do relate to the characters. I really do relate to the setting and like the general premise and stuff like that of just dealing with like these toxic adults. In a lot of ways, it does like hit home for me. I've been I grew up, abused. I've been fucked over by the adults my entire life. So it's very, very relatable to me. And I actually consider like the teachers in particular like to be the most realistic teachers I've seen in any piece of media ever. Because they really are exactly like that. Kawakami is such a whore. But uh, one of the things I've been thinking about lately, something I've completely forgotten about, is that like, why did I not buy Persona 5 when it first came out? Why exactly was I not interested? It came out on PS3. I own a PS3. I considered picking it up. I've been wanting to get into it for years. There was nothing really stopping me from doing it, but I chose not to. Well, first and foremost, I knew it was going to come out on Nintendo consoles eventually. It was inevitable. Like the fanboys who were saying that like the Persona 5 couldn't run on Switch were because it was too demanding, were obviously full of shit. I knew that it was going to come Nintendo Switch eventually. It was just a matter of sitting and waiting. And I had to wait way longer than I had to, but eventually I did get the game and I am enjoying it. There was no reason for me to play it day one. But second of all, and I think this is like the most important thing, is the Nintendo consoles do have better games than this. Like that's kind of my view. I was playing so many better games on Nintendo consoles around the same time. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. You had like Arms, like Blaster Master Zero, like Fast Racing Neo came out around this time. Like there were a lot of great early Switch releases right out of the gate that were just significantly better than anything Persona 5 did, right? And that it was so much so, I think, that there is even another Atlas game that came out around the same time on Nintendo Wii U that was far superior to Persona 5. And that was, of course, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a game that a lot of people haven't heard of, that don't know anything about, that kind of wrote off the instant they saw it. Because Tokyo Mirage Sessions is essentially uh, even more anime than Persona 5 because it's basically about a bunch of people like in the entertainment industry pursuing their careers and fighting monsters on the side. It's basically exactly like Persona, but with better visuals, better dungeon design, better combat, and honestly a better story. Like I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed Tokyo Mirror Sessions when I played it. And looking back on it, like really thinking back on like its mechanics, its bosses, its general structure, its pacing in particular, like I find myself thinking that like, wow, not only am I a fan of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, not only do I want it to like, get a sequel or like some kind of follow up, some kind of spiritual successor, like, because I really liked the idea of like having Fire Emblem aspects like implemented into like a more traditional turn-based JRPG as opposed to a strategy RPG. I think there's a lot of potential there for that. Right. I think the problem with Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a big reason why people were so put off by it was that like they went in like too wild of a direction when it probably really should have been its own unique IP. I don't know. Like I personally, as a Fire Emblem fan, and I suppose like now as like a fan of like Persona in general, I really really do think. Tokyo Mirage Sessions did a very good job implementing aspects from both series, even though that like that take is very controversial. Of course, we know that like SMT fans like really loathe the Persona elements of like focusing on like social issues and like simulation elements, and like the Fire Emblem side of things had issues with like the story not taking itself seriously and being like very modernized and being very anime instead of like taking itself seriously. Not like the best Fire Emblem games ever took themselves all that seriously anyway. Uh, I I I having actually played the game, played the game to completion. I believe I 100%ed it. I believe I did all the side quests. I believe I like unlocked everything. I really enjoyed all 60 hours of my playthrough. I thought Tokyo Mirage Sessions was stellar, right from start to finish. Great music, great great side quests, great characters, great everything. Like I really enjoyed my time with it. It was just a lot of fun. And looking back on it, I think it's like indisputable that this game, which came out before Persona 5, which launched on Wii U, exclusively on Nintendo consoles, is indeed better than Persona 5. It is better than Shin Megami Tensei 5. It is better than all these other Atlas games that have come out since, I would say. I don't want to say before because I don't have like that thorough of a knowledge about like classic Atlas games, but I do really think that is that like this game was vastly underappreciated. It was very overlooked, and it's one of those Wii U games, one of the many Wii U games, and especially 3DS games that I've just kind of like stopped talking about in recent years because they're just so old now that I'm not actively thinking about them, and now I'm getting to the point where like, oh yeah, I can go back and revisit that and go through that game again if I want. And I'm kind of thinking about like, probably doing it again sometime after playing Persona 5. Like just popping the game in, playing through my New Game Plus file and like maybe going through like the first couple of chapters. Like just casually playing through the game. Just like I'm doing with like, Baten Kaido's Origins and countless others of my favorite RPGs. Like there are just a lot of games I need to play. There are a lot of games that like I love. There are a lot of games I go back to, but there are plenty of games like Tokyo Mirage Sessions that are great, but have just kind of like fallen on the back burner and aren't something I talk about often. And I'm really thankful for Persona 5 being the inferior title that it is for really like reminding me just how much I loved Tokyo Mirage Sessions and how people really should be giving that game a chance on Nintendo Switch.